Mary Liz, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I am delighted to be here.
I'm so excited. We were introduced by Diane from Furniture, Lighting, and Decor magazine, which I am so grateful because, you know, I'm here on the West Coast and I know a lot of retailers, but I love getting recommendations like this. And your store, I have to admit, sort of blew me out of the water.
Thanks. We work on that. That's exactly the response we like.
It's extremely impressive. So before we get into that, tell everyone a little bit about yourself and your brand.
Well, I'm Mary Liz Curtin, and I grew up in retail. I've been in the business my whole life, which is, pretty long, as you can see on a Friday afternoon. We have two businesses. Leon and Lulu is a 15,000 square foot destination lifestyle store located just outside of Detroit in a vintage roller skating rink. The building's only been two things, a roller skating rink and us. And we sell furniture and clothing, women's clothing, accessories, gifts. We have price points from 75 cents to, holy shit, is that expensive?
I love you.
So it's a wonderful combination of stuff. We've been described as kind of an upscale Cracker Barrel. We have next to us,
my favorite store.
in a movie theater. Both of our buildings were built in 1941. And the other one is a movie theater, which was a local second-run movie theater in kind of a blue-collar community. We bought that one, restored it to look like a movie theater again, and we have there our restaurant, which is called Three Cats. In the restaurant, we also have our greeting card shop and our wine shop. So we're a complete destination. You can come, you can shop, you can have lunch, you can have a cocktail, you can shop some more, you can have another lunch or another cocktail. And it's worked very, very well to be a complete story.
Oh my God. Okay. So you said you've been in retail forever. Tell me a little bit about growing up, and because I've been in retail since I was 14. So it's rare you meet people. I mean, there are a few of us that have been literally from,
my mother, I grew up in Santa Barbara. My mother had retail stores. She was a interior designer. I learned to walk at the Merchandise Mart in Chicago before we moved to Santa Barbara. I used to take my naps on the sofa in the Jofa showroom. So she had stores. I graduated. I was a sales rep. I was a sales manager. I've done a lot of different things, and for a long time, I'm a writer. I have a book, writer, consulting. I worked with eBay. I did a lot of speaking all over the country. And then my husband had this great idea that we should open a store together, which I thought was going to be a disaster.
When did you move from California to Detroit?
34 years ago.
Did you move when you got married, or did you?
Yeah, hormones act up, and 1 minute you're living in Marin County, and the next minute you're living in Detroit, and you've got kids in a store, and there you go.
Holy shit! What happened?
Exactly what happened.
I just had thought, and now it's already gone. This is what happens, as you know. I'm like 57. I'm like, I can't remember anything anymore. I have to ask you about when you guys came from Detroit. Your husband decided he wanted to open a store together. Did you know?
But he had a retail store for 26 years, which he closed. He opened his first store right out of college while he figured out what he wanted to do. Apparently he can't do anything but retail. So he ran that store. He closed at the end of 2001. And I was busy with my business. I was writing and consulting and speaking, and I had my own gig going on. 2002, we didn't have a retail store at Christmas, and that was a very strange thing for me because Christmas, we're baking cookies and going to parties and bugging the kids. It was just wrong. So 2003, I thought, I'm going to get a job at the mall because it's a quiet time. I'm going to have a good time. And I worked at Crate & Barrel, and I had a marvelous time, and I spent more than any seasonal employee in the region. And
congratulations.
Far more than I made. And my husband got he said, I'll do it too. So he got a job at another store, and he didn't have a great time. He looked around and kept going, I could do this better. So he started looking for a building that we could buy. And his goal was a building that was large enough for a full-line furniture store, had proprietary parking. So, the old story was location, location, location. The story now really is parking, parking, parking.
Yes, ma'am.
And it was big enough, we could buy it. And it was easily accessible from any place in the Detroit metro area. So we sometimes tell people we're basically 20 minutes from any place. And we are now pulling all year long customers from about a 2-hour radius because we're a big enough deal. It's a fun place. It's worth the drive.
Before now, I remembered, of course, what I was going to ask you. What book did you write, and what were you doing consulting and speaking on?
Independent retail. I had a column in Gift for News for many years called The Penny Pinching Retailer, all about how to save money so you've got the money to spend when you want to do something big, and how to run a better business. My book is called A Shopkeeper's Manual, which I wrote quite a few years ago.
Wow.
And I did a lot of speaking.
Why is it not in your bio?
I don't know. Because the kids who wrote the bio, I think, weren't even born when I did all this. I was speaking at trade shows. I did a lot of work all around the country at lots of different trade shows, and I did a great deal of work for eBay when they were supply constrained and trying to show independent retailers other alternative ways to move merchandise.
Yeah.
And eBay was at the time one of them.
Wow. Do you miss that? I mean,
Oh, I totally miss it. I had so much fun. Except I had to go to Las Vegas a lot, and that was a real problem because I had to go to Las Vegas a lot.
I hate Las Vegas, and let me tell you, I basically had to live there now for months on end because now everyone's moving their showrooms there. So
I know.
Oh, I mean,
sorry about that.
It's great. The building, I will say, the building, it's pretty amazing because Los Angeles kind of bottomed out. There's only 2 people left in the LA Mart, which is Stephen and Karen Arwell, the only 2 left.
Wow.
I mean, luckily they're basically the whole 8th floor. So you can go and spend literally an entire day. Everyone brings lunch in and whatnot. But, as far as the West Coast, Las Vegas is now the premier destination shop, which is great because it is so big. So you can't, but it's Las Vegas, which, and
you know more.
Anyone hears this podcast knows my thoughts on it. And nice to meet some us. Shares it.
I have to tell you that the destination fees at those hotels are one of the reasons I hate it so much. Why should I pay $35 a day to use the pool?
Oh, it's way more than that now.
Is it? Well, I haven't been back for a while.
It is. It's, I don't understand. Like, anyway, I digress.
Exactly.
So when you guys found this location, was that the first location you looked at? Was the roller rink?
No, he'd been looking at a few places. He was actually looking at the movie theater when he noticed that there was a sign on the roller rink, which was still operating. It was a roller rink from 1941 till 2005.
Amazing.
And he had the real estate guy show it to him. It's 15,000 square foot of the original hard rock maple floor. So we have $1 million floor in there. Wow. We still have all the practice lines for the compulsories. We got everything. We got the old tax records. We got some mice. We got all the skates. We have 360 pairs of skates. We got the scoreboard from the hockey players. And all of that is still in the store.
Okay, I have so many questions. When you take on a space, because 15,000 square feet is massive. And looking at your pictures, the way they shot it, like, bird's eye view space, it's like, it's overwhelming for me. And this is all I've done my entire life. And it's like, once you sign it, how do you go about breaking up that big of space and then deciding what you're going to carry?
Well, we knew we were going to do furniture and gifts. Clothing came later. And we centered everything in the center under the disco ball. The cash wrap is in the center of the store, and all the smalls are kind of around it. We built giant rolling walls, 8-foot walls, and big, huge casters. We've never moved them, which is good because they've dented the floor where they are. And then around the perimeter of the store, we have vignettes to merchandise the home accents and the furniture and the art. And there's fortunately pilasters, which help define the space. Between each pilaster is a different color. So we can redo one section between two pilasters. There'll be one color and another color. So we can continually change the colors and clean up the displays without destroying the whole store.
Yeah,
we left the snack bar. So when we first opened, we had kids who would skate around serving hot cookies and coffee.
That's amazing.
It was great, but then we couldn't find any more kids when they got older because there was no place for them to learn to skate. So
I seriously have so many questions. First one is please tell me you created some insane installation with all those skates.
We have them all over the store, but I have a tremendous number of them in our warehouse. Skates are incredibly heavy, and my husband and son were just so done. let's throw these out. And I kept going, no, we have to keep them. They weigh like 100 million pounds. So we moved them to do the floor and then moved them to do the floor. So we finally, when we bought our warehouse, had a place to store them. My daughter is a professional roller skater. She's a roller skating, juggling, fire spinning clown. And she wants someday to have a portable roller skating rink so she can share roller skating with people who might not have that chance. I know that was a lot.
Oh my! Those who aren't watching, my mouth is literally on the ground. Okay, your daughter, like, not to sideline, but does your daughter work for you? I mean, she obviously has a gift.
Our brand ambassador.
Things.
She's our brand ambassador, but she has her own business. She she works all over the country, and she roller skates, she stilt walks, she juggles. She spent a whole summer skating around Golden Gate Park, learning and perfecting her juggling skills. Wow. She's recently learned how to lasso people, but her big thing is she spins fire. And she in fact has roller skates that shoot fire out of the heels. And
oh my God, that's amazing.
She's a trip. She knows a lot of festival work as well as private events.
I bet. Oh my God. And so is everyone in your family involved in the business in some way?
Yes, they are. My son, my older child, does all of our IT, both hardware and software, and all of our facilities maintenance.
Ah, and then your husband?
Which are 2 old buildings and a warehouse. There's a lot, and, aging vehicles. There's a lot of stuff to keep.
No doubt. So as a merchandiser, I always think, this is one of those things when I was looking at your store, because back in the day, like when we would set Christmas, like every single section would get a touch of Christmas. Two questions. What does a floor shift look like? And what does a holiday setup look like?
Our floor shifts constantly. We do a lot of special events. Last month, we had a fashion show. We had 163 ladies in the store for the fashion show. So that involves moving the whole center of the store, putting the stage up in the back, and setting seats for 160 ladies. On Sunday, we'll be having an artist market, which we do 4 times a year. You'll have about 25 local artists come in. So they put their stuff on top of everything else. So a dining table will have somebody's pottery. Another vignette will have a whole wall of somebody's artwork.
I love that.
We try to keep the perimeter fairly clean with accessories, but not a lot of stuff. At Christmas, of course, the whole place is just a disaster with Christmas every place. I don't do trees. We don't do traditional displays, but we have a collection of one line. The only way we can keep this mess going is by being really rigid in how we display it. You can't tell unless you know what you're looking at, but we do a lot of merchandising, of course, by color and by theme, keep vendors together because they often tell a story. Mm-hmm. And we try not to let, I'll get a new employee who comes in and unpacks stuff and drops it all over the store. Then we have to have a little intervention about how we don't put things more than one place. Please.
Thank you. I have that with stores where I group everything together, alike items together. My background's anthropology. Yeah. So I go by anthropology standards. I go anthropology's rules. So it's like all like items together, and I'll come back and that same group of merchandise is in 18 places, and I have to pull it all back together.
No, you want to kill somebody.
Well, I used to, but now it's I'm not there all the time. And, sometimes the owners are like, don't touch anything after Michelle leaves. And sometimes it's, you got to give your employee, it's also a vintage store at antiques. So there's not as many smalls as right. Store. So it's a little easier to do. But I said that yesterday when I left. I'm like, please tell me that you're going to keep the tabletops together. She goes, I'll do my best. I'll try it. But it's nice to hear somebody else say that. So who is doing the merchandising then?
We have a team of merchandisers. I have 2 young men who do a lot of the furniture. One of them is our furniture buyer. He's very, very talented. And another guy who's joined us about a year ago who does a lot of customer service and sales management and visuals. It's harder to merchandise all the little stuff.
Yeah. Why?
Because it's all the little stuff. And we were forced to reduce ourselves to having a few installations of slat wall. Where do you put dog toys and toothbrushes and all of that junk. So I end up doing a lot of the junk merchandising because I can't get anybody else to understand the importance of clean lines and straight spaces. Because if we don't keep it tidy in our own chaotic fashion and controlled, no one can figure out what they're looking at. If we buy something, I have to be careful not to buy something that doesn't belong with anything else unless it's really big.
Thank you.
Because sometimes you just can't do anything with it in your store.
Oh my God. I will have like where I go to stores, like even just do consulting. And it's like, but what is happening here? There's like, I go by concepts. Sounds like you do the same. And I know there's a lot of buyers that go there and like, there's no plan. There's no agenda. We just buy what we like.
Cherry pickers never prosper.
Thank you.
That is medical fact. When you buy a line, the most important question to ask is, what do I need? Not what your minimum is, but what do I need for success with this line? If I'm going to buy LAFCO candles, how many flavors do I need to make a decent display so people can find it? If I just buy the top 3 sellers, it's never going to sell because people will never notice it because there's not enough to make a statement.
Well, also your store size too. It's like, it seems like if you don't buy deep enough that it would just get lost.
Totally. And I tend to buy wide at the beginning and then just watch it and refill deep. We are seriously overstocked at all times, but there just has to be enough in any size store. And little stores full of little shit that doesn't go with each other is the worst. It just starts to look like a garage sale. It looks like minestrone soup. So I will pass on a line of smalls that I really like because I know there's no way it's going to be big enough and important enough to tell a story and fight with everything else for a placement.
So what is to you, like, so I concept when I'll go to show and the first day I will walk the show. I don't write any orders. I just want to see what everyone's doing. And you see the repeated, like, the whatever trend is going on.
Giraffe.
The unicorn, the sloth, God, don't get me started. But, because I used to write right when I got there, I was like, oh, I love this. And I'd write. And then by day 3, and I was like, oh, I hate that now because I tend to but I also concept as I go. So I like, that would be great with this. That would be great with that. How do you go about your process? Do you concept? Do you just walk it? Like, what's your process?
I tend just to walk it. I start at the top of the building and go straight down. I make very few appointments because I hate to ping pong ball back and forth.
Yeah.
Except for horrible things like buying Christmas trim, where you have to make an appointment at 7:30 in the morning with those vendors that you buy tons of stuff with and get it over with. But for the rest of it, I tend to go through it. I rarely cancel an order. Occasionally, I'll find something better. But I've been doing this a long time, and I can buy the gifts in my sleep. Not the same as the ready-to-wear. Ready-to-wear is a nightmare to buy because ready-to-wear is kind of like vegetables. Second you put it on the shelf, it starts to rot, and it goes bad in 6 weeks.
Yes.
Furniture and, Christmas, whatever. We had Christmas that we held over for a year because we got some of it in 2020 so late that we just accepted it and sold it the next year because it didn't seem fair to make everybody's life more miserable. But it's the same stuff. It's red and green, it's elves, it's whatever. But clothing is much more difficult, and you have to be much more budget conscious and careful on clothing. So I do take notes in the clothing buying and work with my clothing buyer on how to make sense out of that.
How big? Well, I want to ask you about your decision to go with clothing, but tell me about how big your staff is and what everybody's roles are.
We have about 40 people in each business.
Wow.
We've got furniture salespeople, furniture moving guys, clothing salespeople, cashiers, an accounting person, a marketing person, another marketing person. We have a gift buyer, and some of these people kind of blend, but we have a manager, we have a gift buyer, furniture buyer, and something else buyer, clothing buyer, which happens to be our manager as well. So lots of people do double duty.
Yeah,
but it takes a lot of people to get all this stuff out. We do a decent volume. It's a full store. Something's always coming in. And every time we sell it, we don't do floor sets in furniture. Our furniture is really fun. We don't buy stuff the color of dirt. So when you come in and you buy that red sofa, often it comes right off the floor and we have to bring in something else. And it forces us to keep things fresh and interesting because we keep changing it.
I love
but
that.
The mix of three different things has worked amazingly well. People are terrified about buying furniture. They're scared. They will buy a $50,000 car every 2 years. And when it comes time to buy an $8,000 sofa, they have a fucking meltdown. I mean, they have a meltdown if you edit.
No, F-bomb is my favorite word, and it's so nice to hear somebody else say it. I love this.
Well, now, when you're ready for a sofa, you've got a friend in the business because you've been coming in the store. You've already been there. You bought, we let the dog come in. So we bonded with our customers, and they're ready to work with us. And we don't do a lot of the usual metrics. We don't count close rates. We don't worry about conversion rates. If you leave the store with a smile, I'm happy. I don't care if you've got a bag or not, because that means you will come back. And we do a lot of special events, so it's always chaotic. And there's always something going on. And that adds to the fun. But what we're selling is happiness and fun and ideas. The actual product that we sell is secondary to the magic of the store. People come in, it makes them laugh. There's a dog. We adopted a kitten this morning, so we spent the whole day running around with this little cat and trying to get it out from under stuff. And
in a store that big, because I've worked for some big retailers, and I think loss prevention is always one of those things where it's like, a store that big, how do you?
We lose stuff for sure. But we're a destination store. We're not a mall store. We don't pull a lot of mall rats in. We don't have people come to us to shop with us. Some, I'm sure, come to steal from us.
Yeah.
But our shrinkage is not terrible. It's not terrible at all.
Do you have, does everybody work the entire floor, or is it like you're in this area?
The furniture people are in furniture, because we do custom upholstery and we do design work. If you come in with the pictures of your home and your floor plan and all the rest of it, we will for free help you lay it out in the store, help you choose paint colors, whatever else you need to put together the right stuff. You can also hire our designers independently. They have their own businesses. They can, can hire them to your house, but we'll do anything for you in the store for free. Wow. So they have built that. We always have to have somebody in clothing who really understands how to sell clothing. Mm-hmm. But people will come in and out of clothing. There is some passover. We try to teach the clothing people the basics of furniture. We try to teach the furniture people that get off their asses and put a person in a dressing room occasionally. So we do some of that crossover. But like the website, that's a full-time job for two people just to keep the stupid website going.
No doubt. I'm from Anthropology. I'm a huge cross merchandiser, and I'm all about the storytelling. Do you intermingle your apparel within the gift and home, or does the apparel have its own department?
Apparel has its own area, and I try to keep it tight, but we do have mannequins and dress forms throughout the store with outfits that go with the vignettes just to get people.
Love that.
But if I spread stuff out too much, again, I lose my stories and my tidiness. But then if you're looking for the size medium and it could be in 15 different places, you're just going to shoot yourself.
Yeah.
So we try not to confuse that. And I find for a lot of things like clothing or lamps or stuff like that, people want it kind of in one place so they can look at their choices all together. So we don't
space that big for sure. I can't even imagine having it spread out all in technology.
And like books, we have a 20-foot book wall.
Wow.
It stuns me that people buy books from us. You could stand there and just order from Amazon and get 30% off, but I wouldn't even notice. But the coffee tables the coffee table books are all over the place on the coffee tables. Duh. But I'm proud to tell you we have the largest collection of non-educational literature in the entire state of Michigan.
Oh my God.
We have a lot of books that, talk about farts. We have a big Michigan department too. So we have a lot of Michigan tourist books. And then we do a lot of really beautiful cocktail books.
Incredible. When you guys decided to do, or what was the decision behind stepping into apparel? Because that's, it's very big, obviously.
I went on a speaking tour up to northern Michigan where there's a lot of cute little stores. My husband went with me, and as we're driving back, found the store and I found these clothes I thought were terrific. And I said, oh, honey, this is great. This line, everything goes together. It's like, you can wear the top and the bottom and the hat, whatever. I said, I don't know what to buy. He said, you should buy it all, which is the kind of thing you want your husband to say.
Right.
So I did. I came home with a sack full of clothing. I think I spent about $750. I got in, and all of a sudden, my staff wanted the stuff I was buying, and our customers wanted the stuff I was not buying, what I was wearing. And I realized that there wasn't any place in my area for women who have become friends with elastic, but don't want to look like, a 9-year-old. Things that are chic and good looking and flattering for any body type. So we started to buy to that customer, whatever her age is. And our clothes look good on the kids who work for us. We make the 20-year-olds model in the shows too. Looks good on them. It looks good on you. It looks on fat ladies, old ladies, everybody. We've got something for everyone. But we found a hole in the market. Yeah. And that's an interesting business because, if you want a sofa, it's should be every 7 to 10 years. If you want a gift for something, whatever. But if you hear that we have a new sweater in and you like that sweater company, I can email you 3 times a week and you will come in over and over and over again because women are idiots about clothing. So it's got a lot of repeat business.
I love hearing your customer service comments, and because that is one of those things where I had stores before I was a merchandiser at Fred Siegel. He was my mentor, and
nice.
He was literally my mentor, and he rode me like there was no tomorrow as far as about customer service. And that spoon to mouth, that sending a thank you card, that calling somebody, hey, we just got this in. I'm going to pull 4 of them aside for you. Just come in whenever you want. That is a customer service thing that, because we go on and on about Amazon. I'm like, Amazon's never going to replace that, like that type of customer service. And
well, the other thing about internet, you can buy on the internet, but you can't really shop on the internet. Mm-hmm. If you're looking for adorable wedding gift, what's that search going to get you? You come to us, we'll show you 5 adorable wedding gifts and find out what the bride is like, which, to go off on a little tangent, when you go to any important life event, whether it's a birthday or a wedding or something, the leading up to it, choosing your dress, choosing the present, that's all part of the magic of that event for the guests. Mm-hmm. So we make that all as much fun as we can. And if I can send a lady out with a gift to give to the bride in a dress she's going to wear to the party, that's a fabulous win for her because she's had fun before she even got to the party.
I love that.
And it's been a good balance. But I've forgotten where I was going with what I was saying before I went on that particular digression.
What clothing? I'm dying to know what that clothing line is, by the way.
We did. That one was called Chalet, which we don't carry anymore. For years, we sold an American company called Comfy, but they closed. And now we do a lot with Habitat. We've got a wide range of price points in clothing because one of the things I find is people will come to us because our stuff is so interesting, and then they'll buy a sofa the color of dirt. But they love to say, I bought it at Leon and Lulu. Did you see what they have there? And it's the same thing with clothing. We're always looking for aspirational items in every category. Or, man, I really want that big purple one with the peacock on it, but not in my house. I'll just buy this dumpy little mud hen. But they want to say, I bought my dumpy mud hen in the store that had the big, fabulous peacock. So we provide the mud hen and the peacock.
When you guys do you do the show with your team? Do you all travel in a pack?
Killing me. No. I do my clothing buyer and I go to the clothing shows together. I do the high-end clothing by myself at Coterie or in Paris. Not Coterie, but the shows that are around Coterie in New York. Our furniture buyer comes to High Point with me twice a year. I do most of the gift shows alone. January gift show, our gift buyer and who is also our trim buyer, she and I do that one together. And this July, however, I am taking a team, Jess, our main buyer, and then 2 girls. One of them is our marketing girl, and I shouldn't say that, should I? One of them is our marketing individual, and the other one is our accounting individual.
Oh.
They're in their 20s. Both of them have worked for us since they were 15.
Wow.
I'm taking you both to the Atlanta gift show because I think it'll be fun for them to see what we do, meet people, and see if they see anything that we're too old and jaded and sick of. You know, they might find that unicorn that's kind of grossing us out. But it's hard. It's hard for me to buy with anybody else with me because I'm concentrating on where I'm going to put it, and being distracted is difficult.
Are you concepting as you're shopping? Because I do that. It's hard to, I'm usually a one-man show unless I'm going with the client and advising them. And, I do get in my head where I'm starting to like, oh, that will go with this. And
Exactly. And some people are great. When I go with Jonathan, who's our furniture buyer, or Jessica, who's our gift buyer, both of them are like in tune with me and we have a fine time. But I really am happy going alone. Although currently I'm in a position where I'm trying to see how many things I can stop doing, how many, like all of it. So I'm letting go of things that I always took care of completely myself and letting people learn how to do it. So if I ever wanted to like die or retire or, but I want not to work quite as hard as I have been. So I'm trying to let go of a lot of stuff.
I can't imagine what a day looks like for you. Like, what does a typical work day look like for you?
I try to get in around 7 because that gives me a couple of hours by myself. Sometimes I go to the gym first. I mean, I don't go to the gym before 7. I'm not insane. But if I get a couple of hours to go through my emails, look at the floor, make notes, and do all of the paperwork stuff, make sure the bills are in order, which takes a while with the two companies. Then the staff comes in around 10, and then we move on to marketing meetings and figuring out what we're going to do next and what our email is going to be and what videos are we going to produce and how are we going to promote everything. Because we are very, very special event oriented. Our biggest year, which is, in the before time, we did 80 special events in the store in a year.
Wow.
We do charity Saturdays in December and then throughout the year, where on your Saturday, 10% of all of our sales go to whatever the charity is.
That's incredible.
Which is fun. With the right charity, drives a lot of sales, and we want to give the money away anyway, so it's a great way to do it together. We've done pet adoptions. We've done blood drives. We've done
a lot of that.
We just basically, a couple of weeks ago, like 8, got a phone call from a couple who had met 22 years ago, had met roller skating at the rink, and now they're getting married. They met when they were 12 or something, and now they're 32, whatever. And they won a wedding on a radio show, but then that got canceled because of COVID.
Wow.
So now they're getting married, and they didn't know where they were going to get married. So maybe they go to the courthouse, but I don't know, it was all very complicated. So could they get married at our store? So we said yes. They called us on a Wednesday. On the following Wednesday, they had their ceremony in our store.
Oh, my gosh.
35 people. My daughter was spinning fire, which, hearts on fire. That was nice.
Doesn't everybody need that at their wedding?
We had the whole thing happen. We have a little stage. It's just a 4x8, one big step up to it stage. They had their wedding there. We decorated it. We decorated it with roller skates. And they were in and out in an hour and a half. We made the news with it on one of the local channels.
I love it, really.
But we just couldn't figure out how to say no to that.
I love also how like rooted in the community you are, and like giving back and doing all these events. I mean, I love that because I think that is what is also going to make a strong connection with your customer.
It has. And that's, we donate something to every charity, every silent auction, all that stuff, all of them. And sometimes I buy closeouts to have something to give away. And sometimes I have things that have turned themselves into closeouts in our store, if you know what I mean. But we often hear, I see you on the auction table. I know you give to charity. It's one of the reasons I'm here. So that's one of our biggest marketing expenses, actually, is donations and giving things away.
That's incredible. I love that it's built into your budget and it's like part of the business.
Yeah, it's part of our mission. We really believe in that. We also love to hire kids and teach them. We have one young man. Actually, he's the older brother of our accounting person. And Eric started working for us when he was 15. His job was toy demonstrator. He worked at Christmas and he was flipping stuff and throwing monkeys and, whatever we were selling that year. He grew up, put himself through Wayne State University while he was working for us, became an intern in our accounting department, He's now, I think, 26 or 28. He bought his first house when he was 22. He has his own business, and he still comes back and helps us. And we're very dear friends. And I love that, watching somebody learn how a business is run and being able to have them see things that they wouldn't see in a more corporate environment. And now his sister has just put herself through Wayne State University, and she's still working for us, and they're both treasures.
Wow. That's the mentor thing, and having, kids come in at the ground level is I think that's the best way for, like, that's how I learned, like, literally the ground.
Absolutely. That's how I learned.
Every single job. And I think that's, to be honest, I think that's really important that, especially as an owner now, like, you're not asking somebody to do something that you haven't done already. Like, you've done every single job. And there's a lot of owners, I think, that don't even know how to do some of that stuff. It's like, and the kids are just like, go over here and station over there and, ring.
Well, and it's fun to watch them, to see those who embrace it and those who are like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
So
that was the fun part. So now bring me out to, because I kind of, when I was scrolling through your Instagram, I saw one of the articles about, or actually it was a TV episode of when COVID happened, you had the restaurant, you were preparing meals and you pivoted into selling meals. Tell me what COVID looked like.
We were very lucky. We had a little cafe in the front of the theater building, and it wasn't very successful. We didn't really know what we were doing, but we were doing it. And then we got a chance to work with a man who was a big deal chef in Detroit. He at one point had 14 restaurants. Everybody knew him. And then he had his whole world fell apart. And he spent 5 years living in Detroit, working in the Cass Community Services homeless kitchen, feeding the people in the kitchen that he had built when he was rich and famous. And when he came back to the real world, he looked at a bunch of different places for his reentry, and he chose us because he thought he liked our principles and our morals. And we had known him from the charity circuit. So with Matt, we built a real kitchen. That'll set you back, let me just tell you. A complete professional kitchen, commercial kitchen. And when COVID came, and he was a big caterer. He used to do the auto show. And wow, I just can't completely explain what a big deal he was. When COVID came, one of the first things he did was 3 for $39 meals. And the meal was a 3-course meal. Packaged, it wasn't from our original menu. It was all stuff that was designed to drive. And you could come and buy 9 meals and put them in your freezer or in the refrigerator. And they were designed to reheat. It was all food that would be better later.
Wow.
That was hugely. We did $30,000 in Thanksgiving dinners that year.
Wow.
He did Thanksgiving to go, and he knew how to do it, and was phenomenal. He did, my favorite one that we did in the cafe during COVID was called I'll Taste You There. Because you can't go there, we'll taste you there. So and this is my idea, but he did it. And for 6 weeks, every week we had a different country. So we tasted you to New Orleans, we tasted you to Russia, and all these different places. There was a travel poster online. You got a playlist, you got books to read, you got movies to watch, and then food from that country, and I don't know, some details about whatever.
Wow. Please tell me
a whole
doing that.
Travel log.
Are you still doing that?
Nope. We just did it when we had, nothing to do but that. And that was really fun to go through that. Unfortunately, he died 2 years ago, which we thought was not thoughtful at all. But now about 3 months ago, I have a new chef, and she is astounding. You would love this. She wears her knife on a sheath on her hip.
I love her.
Oh, completely. I would have hired her just for that. So we have done a lot of wine tastings, special dinners. We're having next month Matt's Morel. I guess it's this month now. Matt's Morel Feast. Matt, our first chef, loved mushrooms. He had a restaurant called Morel's. So every year we have a Morel Feast in his honor, and the tickets are $125. $25 goes to Cass Community Services. There is an extra wine pairing and cocktails and stuff. We have sold at this moment 76 tickets to the Morel Feast, Then we still have another 2 weeks. We may add another seating.
Is it that's a night thing, or is it over consecutive?
One night.
Wow.
One night, one fabulous menu.
How many people does the restaurant seat?
We seat about 120.
Okay.
120 or 140, something like that, plus the patio.
When you took on the theater, like what? I mean, because obviously there's a lot of change that needs to happen. How long was it from taking over to turning into the cafe?
It took us about 5 years to remodel the theater building.
Wow.
It was a movie theater from 41 till about 60 or 62. Excuse me. Then it was an auto parts shop, then another a sheltered workshop for the blind. It was all this other stuff. By the time we got it, and we bought it because it's right next to us, and a Buffalo Wild Wings was looking at it, and we did not want them after our parking or peeing in our petunias, or it was not a good idea. So we bought the building. It took us 5 years because all it needed was a new roof, HVAC, windows, plumbing, all new electric, a parking lot, a drainage system under previously mentioned parking lot, and a few other things. So every year we just spend all of our money on it.
And now
last year, let's do a roof. We had, when we got it, it had 2 water features. Sometimes the water just went down the sides in sheets. And different temperatures, it was like a rainforest. It was really interesting. It was a pit.
So we kept your sense of humor with stuff like that. Like, what does a breakdown look like for you? Like, where's your wall? Like, what?
I just blank out
when you hit that.
So we worked on it. It had no redeeming features whatsoever. Every single bit of historical detail was gone, except the little windows from the projection booth.
Wow.
They're still there. All the rest of it's gone. But we recreated the marquee. It's an exact reproduction of the 1941 marquee.
Wow.
Redid the front of the building, of course. And then we did the front where the cafe was, which is now our bar, is the original lobby area. And an old lady came in and she told me that when she worked in the theater, she was an usherette, and they would give the girls the fabric, but they had to sew their own costumes.
Oh my God.
And you had to be very careful. This lady was in her 80s. You had to be very careful because you did not want to get behind the candy counter with the manager because he had wandering hands.
Amazing story.
Isn't that great?
Well, okay. Sorry. What were you?
We ended up making it. I was trying to make it look the way it did when it was new.
Yeah. And
then I went to another theater from that same time and realized ours was a dump. I should make it look the way it should have looked. So we put in a tin ceiling and crystal lights and, made it a lot prettier than it ever was in its heyday.
Wow. I'm thoroughly impressed and blown away. And restaurants and retail, while they seem alike, are very different, especially how they run.
The restaurant business is hideous. Every single thing you've ever heard about it is true. We had more letters from the friend of the court in the first 6 weeks in the restaurant than we had in 15 years. So anyway, the restaurant business is really difficult. It's the people are different. Obviously the costs are all different. It's a whole completely separate and awful world.
What does that team look like?
It looks like constant management issues. Really, we now have a solid front of the house. Everything's good. And our kitchen crew is pretty good, but there's still always some idiot who's doing something stupid. We at one point had a dishwasher who was probably making, this is before the pandemic, $14 an hour. He had 3 baby mamas in 3 different states.
Whoa.
And we all went, ew, why? How do you find 3 women? And so there's just a constant battle. The restaurant business is very difficult. And now it's even harder because prices have gone up on everything from labor to eggs to all of it. So people say this is expensive, but it as you've noticed, you go out for dinner and it's $70 a head before you do anything.
Do you wish you didn't do it, or is it still this is so great?
Nope.
I love it.
Before we had our own restaurant, if you came to town and came to the store, there was no place in our little suburb that I would take you for lunch. If you wanted a beer and a ball game and a burger, which maybe you do, I could hook you up for that. But if I wanted to take you someplace pretty with a nice glass of wine where we could sit and have a lovely lunch, there was nowhere. And now we're a hip place for brunch. So we're getting a lot of hipsters who are coming in for brunch. And then after brunch, they come and shop with us. So it is bringing us a new group of customers. Plus, it's telling the whole story. So if we have a fashion show, you can come and have dinner 4:30 or 5. The show starts at 6. You can shop. And the two businesses are perfect companion pieces, and it's working very, very well.
That's incredible. What else is down?
I do not recommend the restaurant business, just by the way.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I worked in restaurants in between retail, like a lot of us have, but I just know they're polarly different. And I just remember, like, I obviously am not in restaurants anymore, so it's not my cup of tea. But I do remember that did teach me some of the best customer service, like and to learn how to admit when you fucked up and like, I'm so sorry. Let me, owning your mistake. Let me buy you ice. Let me buy you a dessert.
Absolutely. And you got to remember your customers are not just upset. They're hungry. So they're jerkier than they need to be because they're starving.
Yeah. What is, now I have to ask you, because I started asking this question a long time ago and I've gotten away from it. What is the craziest story for the restaurant and the craziest story for the store?
Oh, that'll take a while.
Shorten it.
Bunch of them. Let's just keep talking, and I'll think of one. I don't have one right at this moment.
I don't mean to throw you off. I should have thrown, because I literally haven't asked that question in so long, and just you're talking about the restaurant.
Well, the wedding was pretty crazy,
which I think that's so amazing.
A little nutty. We've done a lot of weddings next door. In the restaurant, of course, we do real weddings where we charge them, and
wow.
We do weddings. We do had a lot of showers, a lot of birthday parties.
Are you involved in that one, like you are in the?
Yes, I'm not involved with menu planning, but I'm involved in all the financials and the direction and the feeling of the restaurant and how it looks, which is complete chaos. We have. Oh, this is what you'd love about our restaurant. We have a tunnel of love ride that's a duck. We're used to be it's a fiberglass duck that would have been big enough for 2 adults to sit in a bench in it. We have it in there with a little table and little chairs. So 4 little people can sit in the duck dining room and have dinner.
That's brilliant.
And we provide little vintage wooden chairs for your handbag.
Oh, I love that. Very Sex in the City.
Handbag chairs for everybody. Cloth napkin, terry cloth towels in both bathrooms in both buildings.
Holy shit, what's that cost? Good God.
Not that we have a washing machine and a dryer.
Oh, so you guys, that's very smart. Take it in-house.
Yeah.
Wow. So now I'm like, there's so many questions now. I asked you about your day and what it looks like. Like, do you go back and forth between the 2 locations? And like,
I spend more time in the office at the big store. I go next door a few times to see what's going on and check on things and talk about the marketing and what we're doing. We do wine tasting events. We do cocktail making events, bourbon events. There's a lot of distilleries in Detroit. We serve all of our food is fresh, farm to table.
Wow.
They'll have a forager show up with a big trash bag full of mushrooms. And we serve all American wine, not just Michigan wine. We have a lot of California wine. And almost all of our spirits are local to Detroit.
Incredible.
So, unless it's something that you can't get in Detroit for whatever, in America for whatever reason, that's the only imported stuff that we sell. We have a very nice wine list.
What else is downtown near you? Are you in downtown or are you?
We are in a tiny, our town is 2 miles square, so it's 4.5 square miles. And it's a little blue-collar suburb of Detroit, but it's 20 minutes from other places. It's 20 minutes to Birmingham, where there's an Anthropologie. It's 20 minutes to Troy, where there's another Anthropologie. But we're a little bit of nowhere in a lot of somewheres, which is why we have to do so many things to drag people to us. Our town has a number of destination businesses, a comic book shop, and a great shoe repair, but they are neither contiguous nor are they complementary. So when you come to shop with us, you're probably not going to buy a vintage record or resale shop for sizes 12 and up. So we're really kind of our own little island there, which is why the food is important and why the whole experience is really essential.
Great concept. What I asked two questions at the end, and I don't know how you do this with your head your head must be on a swivel. Like it takes a lot to gobsmack me. That's a word that the old president of Anthro used to use. And like, I'm thoroughly gobsmacked because I know what it's like to run a business, let alone two totally different ones. And your square footage is insane. Like just all of it, I'm gobsmacked. I'm bowing down. What do you do to get inspired? Do you do anything before the gift shows to get inspired? What does that look like?
I like to shop.
Really? Oh, God, I can't even stand that in retailers.
No, I love to go look at other stores. And if I'm in the right mood, I can go to a grocery store and get ideas.
I love grocery stores.
I like to see what's happening. I found a card line that's one of our best card lines. I found it in a card shop in Belgium, which is bizarre, but we sell tons of it. I just love to see how other people are doing things and what they're selling. And I do have high morals. If I'm going to rip off one of your vendors, I do buy a piece of whatever it is at full retail from you, which I think is the right thing to do. Absolutely. Then I go find the source. But I love to see what other people are doing. I do totally adore trade shows. I'd love to get out there and talk to people. And one of the things that I like about trade shows is the chance to interact with the principals from the vendors we buy from. Mm-hmm. So that when we want to have an event, I've got somebody I can come in and do a special appearance, who can come in and sign. We've had Nora Fleming in the store 5 or 6 times signing Nora Fleming stuff. And that's fun, and our customers absolutely love it. We do trunk shows with the different clothing vendors and all the kinds of things you can only put together if you really know the people, because otherwise we're just this weird store in the middle of nowhere, and we are in the middle of sort of nowhere. But I do love doing that. And then I just like to go to other cities and walk around.
What are some of your favorite retailers that you find inspiration from?
I find more inspiration in small stores. I find more interesting things, and it can be antique stores. It can be anybody who merchandises well. That fascinates me. I love the way people just use stuff. Mm-hmm. So I don't have a favorite chain store. I don't like going to New York anymore because there's really kind of no place to shop. Yeah, I go to John Fluvog and buy myself a pair of shoes, and then but I'm looking for things that aren't in every mall in the world. Yeah, and one of the big worries that we have in retail is the mallification of America. But I see a trend back towards downtown, people who can rent more affordable real estate, put together interesting concepts, and there is a huge resurgence in interest in independent retail. Yes. I thank American Express for part of it, but I also think it's just people want something fun and different and new, and they want to shop from people they think are their friends. They want to, have a good time. And that is what we give more than anything else, is inspiration and fun and laughing. We'll let you take anything home on approval to see if you like it. You can take a sofa. Wow. I don't want to pay the fees if they return it. So,
a lot of stores do that, but they usually do with smalls. I don't know a lot of people that will let a sofa go out on memo unless it's like, the celebrities that.
Oh, we let all that stuff go out on memo. We've been burned like never.
That's great.
We take a credit card number, and most of it sticks.
Wow.
But and we're very friendly to designers. But when somebody comes in and said, I love my house, I'm so happy when I go in my living room, that just makes you feel great.
Yeah. My last question is this has become my favorite question is,
well, I'm scared now.
What piece of advice would you give to both new retailers and established retailers?
Have a good business plan. Have an idea of what you're getting in for. And if your business plan starts with, I think it'd be really fun to just give it up right now. I used to do a presentation for the Craft and Hobby Association for their new stores for their first time. And I tell these people, you're at the Craft and Hobby Show because you love to crochet or scrapbook or knit or throw pottery or do something. And now you're going to open a store because of that. You're never going to have time to knit or crochet or do pottery or whatever else you like to do, because now you have to learn the craft of running a business. And if you're not running a solid business with a real eye on your margins and your bottom line and your operating expenses, you're going to fail. And if you're doing it because you think you can do it for fun, get a puppy.
The hobby stores, like, I want to do this. It's like always like, oh
my God, you must just love going to. And the other stupid things retailers say, what you brought up earlier, is I only buy what I like. Well, that's dumb because I'm not buying it. You're buying it. I have to buy what you like.
Yeah.
And the more more buyers are around anything, the better our taste gets, and the better, the more we understand what the good stuff is and the bad stuff. Our customers don't know that. So we have to give them what they want at the prices they want, whether we like it or not.
Yes. Know your customer. Know who is purchasing.
Marshall Field said it best. Retail's really simple. Give the lady what she wants. That's all there is to it.
Give the lady what she wants. Mary Liz, I am so grateful for this time with you. I really have to thank Diane for this introduction.
Now, Diane Falvey is fabulous.
I'm really, I'm a judge on the Lido Vision, I think it's called Lido Vision, for the showroom of the year in Dallas.
So will you be in Dallas in January?
I will. No, I'll be there this month.
Well, let's have a
Are you going to be there?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
One of my favorite shows.
I have not been to Dallas in a long time, and I interviewed Cole, who is head of marketing, and
I love Cole. What a voice he has.
He's so.
He has a doctorate in philosophy.
No, I'm blown away how much he reads and how much he does outside of work. It's mind blowing.
Yeah.
Like, I watch him and his brother golfing, and then they're doing this and they're doing that. I'm like, wow, that is impressive. I talk about like living life to its fullest. Like, I really feel like Cole does that. So Cole in the Dallas Market Center is flying me in. So I will be there at Lido Vision, and I'm going to do some shopping for some customers. What I would love.
Perfect. If I get there, I'm there for 3 nights.
I think I'm there for 2 nights, but what I'll do is I'll send you an email.
Perfect.
But thank you so much for this time. This was such a pleasure.
It's been really, really fun.
I really, really am grateful for this.
I think we could get in some trouble together.
Exactly. I know. It's kind of scary.
Tell Stephen I said hi.
I will.